Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Bliss podcast. I am your host, Angela Thiru, and I am so grateful to have you all join us today to welcome our special guest, Leyla Naghizada. Leyla actually used to be a part of a popular YouTube hair channel and was a founding partner of Luxy Hair Extensions. Leyla is now going through a spiritual awakening journey and is allowing life to lead her to her destiny. The first step of which was actually starting a podcast that's intended to inspire and empower people to heal, awaken, and elevate their consciousness through mindfulness, meditation, and also assist them through others through making the transition from fear to love. Essentially, this podcast will be a hub for all things practical spirituality for the modern day. So welcome, Leyla, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm extremely excited to have you here and share your story with everyone.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm super excited to chat as well and see what kind of fun and inspiring things we can channel.
Absolutely. Yes, I have been following you and your sister Mimi as well, your guys' journey since back in the days of YouTube and
yeah, the Luxy Hair days.
Absolutely. I actually have a set of my own Luxy Hair.
Oh my, that's awesome.
Yes, and so it's been wonderful to see, both of your journeys, but yours especially, and just staying true to yourself and just following what feels right for you and your spirit and your journey. And that's something that I've always admired, and it's inspired me to do the same. But before we dive a little deeper into your story, I'd like our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How would your friends and family describe you? Who is Leyla outside of what we see on YouTube and Instagram?
Well, I'd like to think that I portray the same image on social media as I do in real life. That's why, hence my name, Real Leyla,
Yes.
Which will be changed soon. But as far as what's important to me is to be authentic with everyone in every interaction. It's just who I am. Like, I don't know how to be anything but. So you would see the same person. I'm always present, and I do my best to, be kind and loving. Of course, I have my moments. So when I do have those moments where I am definitely an empath and an introvert and a highly sensitive being. So I like to retrieve a lot and kind of recharge. And when I feel like my battery is full, then I can sort of face the day. If I'm facing the day or people when my battery is low, so to speak, you'll just see me more kind of like retrieved. And if I filled my own cup, then I can be more myself, so to speak. So I kind of like stretch out my energy, because being around people is very, very draining for an empath, because I just feel everyone at a very deep level.
Absolutely.
So I would say, in terms of like what you see on social media is pretty much the same. Obviously you would get, a deeper interaction in person than on social media, but I definitely pride myself on being the same sort of being everywhere I go, or with whatever it is that I do.
Absolutely. And for, everyone who does follow you, and myself included, I do feel that you are very authentic through your stories and through your posts. And you can see that through the energy that you're emitting through your videos and your posts. So like I said, it's one of the things that I really admire about you, and I'm sure all of your followers do as well. Take us back to the beginning of your journey, pre and post YouTube Luxy Hair, sort of how you got started and how you kind of figured out when the time was right for you to leave Luxy Hair, and what inspired you to take that jump.
So just kind of going back to when Luxy Hair started, it was my sister Mimi, her husband Alex, and myself, and the idea was theirs. So I just feel incredibly blessed to have been sort of in the right place at the right time, and they graciously invited me to join the venture. And at the time, like I said, we were all kind of, it was when the recession happened back in 2008, and I just was fresh out of leaving a job, which I kind of hated. And I was starting my own business in home staging, because I have a background in interior design. And my sister was doing, like, she had a blog, and she was doing image consultant, but sort of feeling like that wasn't the path for her. And her husband, Alex, was trying to do all these different ventures, and he was kind of starting to understand how social media is going to be this huge thing. And they're both like very much visionaries in terms of entrepreneurship and things like that. So, they just kind of saw an opportunity. Alex saw an opportunity with the extensions, and we got started with that. And it was just an absolute dream come true in terms of allowing all of us to experience just unbelievable growth in a very short amount of time, and allowed all of us the freedom, which is what, financial freedom just allows you to have freedom in your life to do the things that you enjoy and explore and just sort of like try different things. So as the business grew, they realized that they actually, when the business started, it started as a 4-hour work week. And that's kind of how we were operating it. But as it grew, they realized, and they're very much on the same page as far as their vision. And so they realized that they wanted more of a culture, like a company culture. They wanted to have an office and have people working in person versus remotely. And for me personally, again, being an empath and kind of like, a bit of a hermit,
Right.
I really wanted to have, again, the opportunity to work from home when I want, when I have the energy during the day. I just, the idea of commuting and going somewhere every day and being committed to that, it just feels like prison. It's like prison. Like I just can't, I just will not be happy. So when we started to realize that our visions are kind of going in different directions, we just had a chat. And I remember sitting in a park bench with Alex, and just kind of discussing our visions and what we want. And it was pretty amicable. And we just kind of decided, that with what I want to do and with where they're taking the business, we're just not aligned anymore.
Right.
And I really didn't know at the time what I wanted to do, but I just knew that that wasn't it. And I think that's very important to know. If you're confused about what you want to do in life, get clear on what you don't want. And that's going to kind of eliminate a lot of the, parts, and make at least take you a step closer.
Right.
So once the decision was made and I exited the business, I have never felt freer in my entire life. I just felt so blessed because, I was free. I had this financial cushion for a little bit of time to just explore and figure out, what are my next steps? What does my soul want to do? So I always felt called to Los Angeles for some reason. Like I just always wanted to live there. So I figured it's the perfect time. I'm single. I have this freedom. So I took off for a month and I stayed there in West Hollywood. I really didn't even know anything about LA. I didn't know any people there. I just knew that I was being called there. And somehow I just ended up in the best area, West Hollywood, because it's so trendy and fun and all these shops and restaurants. And I just loved it, just the nature and the sun and the ocean. It was just perfect. And then when I came back, I just knew like, yes, LA was exactly what I wanted. I still didn't know what was going to happen. I came back, I decided to move out of my parents' home, and I started my own channels on YouTube. At the time, it was I was just still figuring it out. So I was doing kind of vlogs and lifestyle videos on my Real Leyla channel. And then I really wanted to get in the best shape of my life and just with healthy eating and recipes. So I started a separate channel, Get Fit with Leyla, and just was running those two channels at the time and making videos. And so I moved out, and that was like the happiest time of my life because I just was free. Like one thing I need in life is to feel that freedom. And that was exactly what I've always craved. So I moved out with my 2 cats, and then, certain things happened, and I again felt like it was the perfect opportunity to move to LA to start something new. Again, it was just, I always, it feels like I never know the clear path, but I always feel called to start something. And that's one thing I can really kind of, I'm proud of myself for not allowing the fear of like the unknown to stop me. So I just took the plunge and I literally moved everything, like all the furniture, everything that I just kind of, I rented a house. So everything that I furnished the house with, I got what are those moving not trucks,
The pods.
moving trucks, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah, whatever.
okay.
I moved everything from here to LA with my cats, moved there with the intention of starting some kind of a business and basically living there. And I stayed there for about 6 months, and then certain things happened with my spiritual awakening. I kind of went a little too deep, too far. I didn't have anyone around me to kind of ground me.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like for my mental health, I needed to come back to be around my family and just like support. And so I came back, but in that time, I mean, I'm summarizing a lot. It was some really very profound and what I now think were initiations. Spiritual initiations, and just my mind, my awareness expanding and my consciousness elevating so much that I was just like, my mind was just blown in every possible way. And I was just trying to understand, make sense of it. That's, if you talk with people that go through a spiritual awakening, most stories are like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like your whole world kind of changes, your worldview, perception and perspective changes. And you're just like, what just happened? Who am I? Where am I? Like, you're just trying to make sense of the world. So that was back in 2012 to 13. Mm-hmm. And I came back in 2013, and still when I was there, I kind of started to feel like I had some kind of healing gifts where I'm supposed to somehow work with people and support their journey of transformation. Mm-hmm. And so I started working with people just for free because I just felt like I needed to do this. It wasn't for money. It was just like, I needed to do this. So I just started working with people and, getting some wonderful results. And I came back and still with the intention of continuing that business. But again, with things that happened to me that I don't want to get into today, because that's a whole other topic and conversation. I just was not in a good mental state. So I felt like I needed to take care of me first before I can really support others. So I pulled back from that. And that's when I met my husband online on Tinder, out of all places. But listen, this is the new age we live in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I'm going into too much detail, feel free to stop me, because I love to.
Like, keep it coming.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I just met my husband and it went really, really fast. So we moved in together in December, and then with the intention of, kind of seeing how we get along. And we knew that we were the one for each other, and with the intention of getting married. But life had a different plan. So we got pregnant, and I found out when I was actually in a meditation course, Vipassana. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like literally the worst timing, because I felt like I was not ready, like mentally. I couldn't give to anybody because I was just still trying to take care of my own health. Mm-hmm. But, you just have to trust life. And, obviously it was a huge shock to everyone. And I'm just happy that we, decided to have the baby, because now we have this beautiful angel, Adriana.
Oh my gosh, she's so adorable.
Yeah. So yeah, she's just, honestly, not because she's my child, but she really is just an angel child. Mm-hmm. Because now I can say that with surety, because I have a second child who I adore as well, but he's just the complete opposite. He's so strong-willed and a mind of his own. He's super intense. He challenges us, in every possible way. So I'm happy that I had her first, because had I had him, I probably would have never had more kids.
You probably would have lost your shit.
Yeah, so life just kind of took a turn on its own. It had this plan for me. So I had one baby, then I was like, all right, so now I have to figure out what to do. So I've always kind of enjoyed beauty and making people feel beautiful and feel good. So I decided to go to hair school just to learn hairstyling. Right. Or actual, the styling part I knew, but cutting and color and all that. Mm-hmm. And so I finished that, and I was I was already doing an apprenticeship, because part of getting certified, you need to get an apprenticeship under your belt. So I was doing that, and I found out I was pregnant again with my son. So, I really believe in science, and I'm very much in tune with life and universe. So I was like, all right, I guess you're really telling me this hairstyling thing is not for me. Mm-hmm. So then I had my second baby, and it was, like I said, him being super intense and not sleeping well. It was just survival mode. Like, it was pure survival mode, mom mode, like not sleeping, have a toddler, have this newborn who's super strong-willed and intense. And, it was December this year, past like 2018, that, I thought, okay, it's the right time now. She was already in school for a while, and I thought, okay, let's put him in part-time care, see how he does. Because he was so, he's just like a fast learner, and he always wants to be moving and grooving and learning. I felt like he was like bored at home, and I couldn't really do too many activities with him because I don't have help in terms of housework and stuff. So between all the responsibilities of caring for a home, I wasn't able to give him as much attention with activities and taking him to different, groups and things like that. So I was like, okay, I think he'll really enjoy going to school. So he did. And then we started him in full-time in January, and it's been wonderful. So they're both in full-time care now. And I knew, again, from just being in tune with my intuition and life, that, now it's my time to kind of buckle in and start to really go deeper into, what is my purpose? Like, why am I really here? What are my gifts? What are my offerings? So that's what I've been diving deeper and deeper into, and just trying to figure out. So that's like a short summary of the past, I think, 5-6 years.
5-6 years, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. And like, I can relate to a lot of what you've gone through too. And, I won't get into any of that now, but I had my own experience with, going deep into spirituality and really trusting life and figuring things out. So I can really relate to a lot of the stories
Amazing.
you shared. And just from experience, I know how much courage it takes to really trust and surrender, and surrendering to the unknown, as you had mentioned, and really just trusting life and trusting yourself, that part of you that speaks to you, your intuition, your spirit, your soul. What kind of advice would you give to people? I know that it helped, obviously, being able to have that financial cushion to take leaps like this, to really make time for yourself to figure things out. But for people who are, perhaps stuck in a 9 to 5, or stuck in a position where they can't just, quit their job, quit their life, pack up their stuff and move, or, start going and exploring, trying to figure out what they want to do. What kind of advice would you give in terms of, going down that journey of exploring for themselves? What is your true calling? But not having the ability to just completely quit where they're at in life.
Absolutely. I mean, my story definitely is not common, where you, like you said, you have that ability to take off, which I'm super, super grateful and blessed that I had that. So I would say the best thing you can do is to start to develop a deeper relationship with yourself, with your higher self, which is the voice of your intuition. I just tend to be that kind of person that I will just like throw myself to the wind and blah, blah, blah. But most people are not like that, they're more rational and logical, where I just follow my feelings. So the best thing you can do is just to start to develop that relationship. And how you do that is through a spiritual practice. Now, there's many different ways that you can implement a spiritual practice. My personal favorite and very doable practical thing that you can do is to begin to have a meditation practice. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated. I started doing these 3-minute live meditations with my Instagram community, and the feedback has been amazing. And it truly is like, I mean, I knew for me from experience that it is that easy. Like, just those few minutes can really make an impact. But now hearing back from people, they're like, wow, these 3 minutes are really making a positive impact. And so it's just start small, just kind of tune out the noise from the outside and start to create some stillness, some connection with your own self. Spend time in nature, spend time with yourself writing. And one of my favorite authors, Liz Gilbert, I heard her recently in a podcast. I think it was on Oprah's Super Soul, because, so many of us want to know, what is our purpose? What is our passion? Blah, 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 and all these things. And actually, one of my followers, I think I made a post about something on purpose and passion and all that. And she said, one of my followers commented saying, you know what, you should check out this interview where she talks about it from a different angle. And I loved it because she's just a genius. Like, Liz Gilbert is wonderful. right? So she mentioned something that's kind of groundbreaking, and it's so intuitive, and it's in line with kind of how I follow things.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't able to put it into such beautiful words, but she basically said, follow your curiosity, and curiosity will lead you on the path. And if it's not that path, you will find a different path, and it's kind of intertwining paths and roads will take you somewhere. But the most important thing, I think, to start with is set your intention.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Intention is so powerful. I mean, we really, really underestimate how powerful we are as creator beings. So when you set that intention, you set things in motion with the universe. You tell the universe that you're ready, and you don't have to sell things and move and, quit your job. Sure, if that feels aligned, try it, but you do not have to do that. What you have to do is get clear on what it is that you want. So you set that intention, and then you have to start creating small habits, different habits in your day that will kind of start to change things in your outer world as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to overwhelm people. So I think if you just do these few things with meditation and journaling and spending time with yourself and in nature, you will start to hear that voice and that guidance, and then following your curiosity with whatever it is. Each one of us is unique and has different gifts and abilities. So I think if you do that, you will be sure on your way.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it really just takes knowing yourself and trusting yourself and listening to that, your higher self, that inner voice that we all have. And a lot of us run from it because a lot of us are too afraid to sit with our emotions and to sit with our thoughts, because it can be a scary place. And I speak from experience, and I'm sure you understand that as well, how scary
Absolutely.
it can be, but it is so liberating when you finally do give into that and surrender to that, and just allow yourself to sit with those emotions and allow yourself to really feel each emotion, rather than distracting yourself with this, that, and the other, running from it, which so many people do. And I think there's magic in that, and I think meditation really truly helps, with quieting that voice within, and just allowing yourself to be with your emotions, be with your thoughts, be with your fears, be with everything that you are, and really connect with that higher self that you have. And I agree with you, just starting small, starting with 3 minutes of meditation, or just 5 minutes of journaling your thoughts in the morning. And I always tell everyone, it's so important to have some kind of strong morning routine, because that sets the tone for the day. And if you just kind of roll out of bed and start snowballing it with whatever emotion or feeling you wake up with, that's just a recipe for disaster, right? And having something where you can really ground yourself first thing in the morning, I think, is important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I know that you're a very spiritual being. Have you always been this spiritual? Has this been something that you had to learn, or does it come from your family or your parents spiritual? Like, how did you become who you are? How did you really connect with your spirituality?
I think I've always been this way. I don't think I've always known that I've been this way, but now looking back, no one really in my family is as spiritual. My mom is very open to spirituality. My dad is not. I'm lucky in a way that I did not grow up with a certain religion and indoctrinated in certain beliefs with religion, in religious aspects. So no, I've always been very, very highly intuitive and kind of in touch with that part of myself, even though I didn't know when I was younger what that was. So yeah, I think I've just always been this way. I've just, always felt very different from everyone else around me, or just from living on this planet. I just felt like I kind of don't belong here. Like when I looked around, I felt like, now that I understand more about life and why I'm here and why is everyone here and what's the purpose and all that, just my own personal discoveries, now everything makes sense. But back in the day when I used to struggle just with kind of existential, sorry, I'm just like butchering that word right now, existential crisis, I've kind of always had it. Like I've just always been like, what is the point of this? Like I get it, okay, so you have fun, so you do this, but what is the ultimate point? I just kind of never got that. And just like looking around, I just felt like it's like I didn't belong here. Like I always find myself looking up in the sky and connecting with stars, and I have a very special relationship with the moon, always, like always. So I don't know, I just felt like I was just not from here, and I was just like plumped on this planet and just trying to figure out what it is like to be human. Like,
Oh, I get that.
Just now, like this year alone, and going deeper and kind of awakening more, I now get it. Like I'm starting to understand all the puzzle pieces are kind of falling into place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making sense. But up to this point, it was just torture, because you feel like, I'm in this beautiful planet. I have this loving family. There was drama involved, as in with every family, but for the most part, I was not like heavily abused or anything like that. I have this wonderful, loving family, supportive, and what's this divine discontent that I've always felt. And again, as the veil lifts and I'm starting to wake up, just life makes a lot more sense. So,
I love that. I love that. And I think a lot of people, society plays such a huge role in how we lead our lives. And until we actually begin to do this work and to really connect with ourselves, we're stuck in that, just like that cookie cutter life of, okay, we have to do things a certain way. How did I know that, you being very in touch with yourself, that helped you a lot to really listen to your inner voice and your higher self, and have the courage to do what you needed to do for yourself. But for those of us who are struggling with, doing the right thing versus doing what everyone else is leading us to believe that we need to do, how would you, what would you recommend that people do in those situations? Because it can be difficult. It's not an easy decision to make. A lot of us are led by fear and doubt, and sometimes we just get confused by, what is it that we're supposed to be doing, right? Do we lead a life of just happiness? Do we lead a life of success? What does success look like? And it's important to, and I think you mentioned this, it's important to know what it is that means to you. What does happiness mean to you? What does success mean to you? What is your definition of that? But for those people that are still struggling with that, struggling with figuring out what they want to do, or finding that courage to lead their true purpose for their life, that are, still haven't found the courage to follow that, what would you do? Like, what would you say? I know, like, besides all of the little things like journaling and meditation, really connecting with themselves, how do they begin to trust themselves? How do they begin to say no to society's expectations of us and how we should live life here on earth?
Well, again, it's going to sound kind of repetitive, but all these questions that you just kind of mentioned, that so many of us go through in our mind, is because of that disconnect between mind and heart. So if we learn to connect with our hearts, which most of us actually never had that to begin with, the heart knows everything. The heart is sort of the gateway to your soul, which the soul carries a blueprint for your life and your dharma, which is your purpose. So all these kind of like the jumble of questions and this confusion and all this stuff is because we're disconnected from the heart, and we're just kind of stuck in the mind. And the mind is where the fear lives. And the fear will never lead you to the right path. In terms of the fear is very important. I don't want to downgrade that. The fear is extremely important. The fear is part of the process. It is actually here to help us grow, but it will not give you the answer. The fear will challenge you and push you, but it will not give you the answer. The answer will always come from your heart, which is love, which is where love resides, which is the soul. So again, making that commitment to developing relationship with yourself and kind of going away from the doing and the masculine and more feminine sort of rituals and routines where you are connecting with nature, just grounding on the earth, turning off your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever, just sitting on the ground in nature. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to go anywhere. If you have a little patch of greenery, just go and sit there, whether it's your backyard or if you live in the city, some park, whatever. Just really sit and breathe and put your hands on your heart and just sit for 5 minutes and just see how you will feel differently. You will start to feel things. And that's the problem, is because we're thinking, oh, I should be doing this.
Right.
All these questions, it's not your voices. It's the voices that the conditioned voices of the society, your parents, and every kind of the outside world, which drives us insane. Truly,
Absolutely.
it just drives us insane.
Yeah.
So that's the disconnect. Like with my own path, that's what I've observed. As in my own journey, that was the path. And now I observe that as kind of like the epidemic with humanity, is that we are disconnected from our heart and we are living from fear. But fear not, because there's a huge shift happening of millions of souls waking up.
Absolutely.
And this fifth dimension now coming into reality, where more and more people are elevating their frequencies and their consciousness and are able to tap into those states of consciousnesses that are higher, that are of love and unity consciousness, versus the fear that we've been living in the 3D reality. So that's the path. Honestly, like, it's really not complicated. The mind wants to make it complicated. It really isn't. It really is that simple. Turn off the distractions, everything. Make that commitment. And you mentioned something about like, how do we begin to trust ourselves? One of my favorite people on Instagram, Nicole, the holistic
psychologist. Yes.
Yeah. So she talks about how, we don't trust ourselves because we betray ourselves all the time. So she talks about how you want to set small, tiny intentions for the day, or, goals, if you like to call them that, and follow through no matter how small they are. And over time, you will actually begin to
learn to trust yourself again.
Exactly. You will build that trust with your own self that, hey, like, I am actually trustworthy. I can set this intention and follow through. So don't complicate it. Life honestly is not complicated. It really is. It's the mind. It really the mind complicates.
Absolutely. It is definitely. I 100% agree with you. And I think we live in a world where everywhere you turn, people are living with anxiety, and it's really just the mind. It's, if we can instill all of these practices that you've mentioned and learn to just really connect to ourselves, we can get rid of so much, depression, anxiety.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, there's just so much. And just, I truly believe food also plays a very
absolutely high frequency food.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you had mentioned, we're living in a time now where more and more people are awakening to their truths. When I started my journey, and I'm sure you can relate to this, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I was completely just in the dark, alone, trying to figure and navigate through, this awakening that I was going through, and not having the resources or support around me. And I'm so grateful to see the tremendous amount of just information and support that is available to us now to really help support people on their journey. And the work that you're doing, and I'm excited for the podcast that you're going to be starting.
Me too.
Yes, can you share with us a little bit about the podcast? And also I know that you have a website that is under construction right now. It's being Luca. Can you share a little bit about that as well, if you're open to talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So part of this journey of figuring out, being in such darkness, where I was like on my knees wailing, saying, just, I cannot take this, kind of not knowing why I'm here anymore. And for me, on my path, it's kind of been like that. Like, there's been times where it was very, very pivotal points where I was on my knees, literally on my knees on the ground, praying, saying, I am ready. Like, show me the way. I want to be of service. Just show me. I don't even care what it is. If it's being a janitor or being a server, like, I don't care what it is. Just show me what it is, because I want to feel fulfilled. And, being a mother is extremely important, and it's such a beautiful experience. But I know in the depth of my soul that there's something more I'm supposed to be doing. And that's your soul. That's the soul blueprint that's just trying to wake you up. And so, so I just was on my knees saying, I'm ready, show me the way. And part of the process of kind of being shown the way was the guidance that I received of like, just let it all go and surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge thing for me. That was a huge transformative point that I'm finally feel like I've integrated, of really, really just stop controlling everything, because you don't know anything. Like you really have such a limited view of where you stand.
Oh my gosh,
And
yes.
if you just let go, like just let go of the rain, you will see how magical life will become. And that's truly been my journey over the past, I would say, year and a half. So a lot of the things are still unclear, but I'm so happy and I feel so aligned with what I've been shown.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that when I was in LA, actually, the name Luca came to me, and that basically stands for Love, Unity, Compassion, Awakening.
I love that.
And I actually had the website, but it was backwards. I think it was Luca Being or something like that. Luca Living. I think I had Luca Living.
Okay.
And recently, like, again, part of the whole surrender process is that I just said, I surrender my will, and I'm open to being guided, like in every moment. So once you say that, then you have to kind of stay very present to the inner voice and the intuition that then guides you and gives you certain thoughts or insights or whatever. So one day I just got, and I always have my notebook nearby. Usually if I try to sit down and feel inspired, nothing will come. But if it's when I'm doing stuff and I'm kind of in the flow of stuff, that then things come. So it just came one day, being Luca. And that makes so much sense, because that's what we're moving towards, is becoming love, becoming unity consciousness, is becoming compassionate towards ourselves and everything and everyone around us. And of course, the whole thing is wrapped in awakening, right? Like we're all awakening to all of this truth of who we are. So that's what being Luca is about. Now, what it's going to look like, that was always continues to be my question to the universe. And so far what I've gotten is, you don't have to know the whole thing. It's the podcast right now. Start the podcast, kind of like what you're doing as well. I think stories are so powerful, because we are all one. So when we hear stories, parts of us resonate with those stories. And, you can hear a story and it can just like spark something inside you, and it can really propel you in a certain direction and change your whole entire life just by listening to a certain story. So, and again, when I was journaling, a lot of my kind of getting in touch with my higher self comes through journaling. So in one of my journaling sessions, I was saying, like, because I've suffered a lot through mental health, like in terms of just like a lot of darkness in my thoughts. So I was just saying, like, what is the purpose of all this freaking darkness that I have to endure? Like, there's got to be a higher purpose to this. And what I got was that I'm kind of like the test lab bunny, whatever. Like my life is that, so that I could really kind of test everything on myself. And once I transform and transmute my own darkness into pure light, love, source energy that we all are at the core, then I can kind of provide the same tools to others with that certainty that I know it works, because it worked on me, And it's really not about me. Another prayer that I, kind of practice every day is, let me get out of the way and simply become a clear channel for whatever it wants to come through. I'm not attached to what comes through. I just want to feel like my ego and my mind is not in the way, that I'm just like purely being and allowing. So what came through is just start a community of beings that are awakening, that are ready to be shown kind of what to do, like shown the way, in a sense, to kind of get on the path. Because I don't believe that we need help. I believe that we just need to be shown like a spark of light, the direction. And then once we adopt certain habits in our day-to-day life, and that then help us to connect with our hearts and our intuition, it will all be taken care of. Because once the mind is quiet and the heart's kind of in charge, then nobody needs help. everyone will know what to do. It's just that transition of getting out of the mind and getting into the heart space. So I believe at this point of my journey and evolution, that's my purpose, is to support people that are ready to make that transition from the head to the heart, from fear to love. And once they're there, like I said, their higher self will take over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
everything you're doing, and I strongly believe that you're going to make a huge impact.
Thank you so much. Thank
Just
you.
no, because you know what, you have the courage and you're willing to step aside and not allow it to be all about you, but rather how can I be a vessel to help others, and that's such a beautiful thing. And I know that you're going to do amazing things for people, and I'm so
Thank you so
excited
much.
to see how your journey continues to unravel. You continue to inspire me to really tap into that deeper side of me as well through your work. So you're already impacting so many people.
Thank you.
No, you're so welcome.
And your
Just
story as well. I love what you're doing as well. It's so powerful because honestly, women, not to put men down, men are beautiful and important, and they play, it's a partnership.
of course.
But honestly, there's something extremely courageous and just that raw power that just that feminine energy has. It's life-giving, it's nourishing, it's just, and now seeing this like goddess energy awakening in more and more women, and you're part of that, like what your higher self kind of guided you on this path with what you're starting and doing and supporting women. It's so needed, it's so important. Absolutely. Because I do believe that we're ready. It's just that we need a little bit of like someone standing there and saying, here, this way, just come over here, this way, and then just shown how to do, because we are living in a time where there's information overload, enough with information. We need to be shown how to, right? So yeah,
comes with really just trusting
our
inner guidance system.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I agree with you. Like, your story deeply resonates with me and my journey, and
it's amazing.
And I love what you're doing. You're right. Like, one of the reasons I started this podcast is to help inspire other women, because what's the point of going through everything you go through, and all the darkness, and living through all of this, if you can't then share that with others and help others on their journey. So I applaud you for that. Thank you so much. Is there anything else?
Likewise.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? There's so much information that you've already shared with us, and I know that it was a quick summary, of course. Is there anything else that you feel you want to share with our audience?
Just again, wanting to reiterate the message of letting go and surrendering, because again, that's what kind of I feel like humanity is going through. We're making that transition of trying to force and push an effort, which is the masculine way of doing things, and moving towards more of being. So less doing and more being. Just make space for more being and more just breathing. And again, I'm going to continue to talk about this because it's part of the transition, is connecting back to nature. That's where our healing, actually in Japan, doctors prescribe forest bathing as a modality of healing, because it is so powerful, because the earth emits a certain electromagnetic field that we are part of, and it helps to regulate all these internal systems. There's actually a little documentary on Gaia, which is like a Netflix for spirituality and transformational personal growth, that I recommend to everyone. Turn off Netflix and turn on Gaia if you're into self-growth and spirituality, because you will learn so much. So there was a short documentary there about earthing and how powerful it can be, and how all these diseases and all this disconnect that we're going through is because most of us never touch the earth with our feet ever. Like it's actually horrific, and that's not how it's meant to be. We are meant to walk upon the earth and be connected to her. And so I will continue to spread that message, because it is very powerful. So turn off your devices. Obviously, if your work involves that, obviously, do your responsibilities. But then make the commitment, make the kind of the transition to less doing and more being in nature, and you will see how your life will start to change in just miraculous, dramatic ways, for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, I like to always end the podcast off with just a random question.
Great.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird do you think you are?
I think I'm extremely weird. I would say like 100 because, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier that I've always felt like basically I didn't belong here and like I'm an alien. And when I looked around it was always very awkward for me to be in social settings. Like one-on-one, I'm very good because I'm very good at connecting and being an empath, like feeling and going deeper with people. But in a larger social setting, it's always anxiety inducing because again, I channel everyone's energy, and then just looking at how humans interact, it was always very bizarre and weird to me.
Yes.
So yes, I've always felt like I'm an alien. From a different planet, and I was just kind of like plopped down onto the planet Earth. And only now recently I'm starting to understand who I am, why I'm here, and I'm starting to feel at home in my own skin because now I'm connected to my soul. Whereas before I was just like this separate human self just walking around not understanding anything.
Yes.
Right. And now I feel connected to my soul, and I feel like I'm embodying more of my soul every day, more and more, as I heal the shadow aspects of myself. And and now Earth is basically heaven. It's just the most beautiful planet ever, and I'm so grateful to be here.
And I think we live in a world where, it's popular to be extroverted, and it's popular to, be the social butterfly and the person
Mm-hmm.
that
And that's what's celebrated, right? And the ones that are kind of like the little shy kids or whatever are thought of as the weird ones, right?
Yeah, the weird one. It's not even about shyness. I think it's just, really celebrating that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fine to be quiet. It's fine to be introverted. It's okay to be an empath.
It's a superpower.
It's okay to be sensitive. And that's one of the things that, I'm really just trying to spread more awareness around as well for myself, because I do relate to being an empath. I do relate to being introverted. And, it's only been the last few years that I truly began to embrace that part of me and to love that part of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long I kept questioning myself and thought, why was I born this way? Like, why am I
Mm-hmm.
different? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that I'm different, it's that is our gift.
Exactly. It actually is a superpower. The more I learn about it, the more I understand how it is an advantage and how it can really support me on my path and fulfilling my purpose. Because without it, you really can't empathize with people and really kind of do the work that we're here to do, because you can't relate, at a deeper level. So, yeah.
And I think it's important. There's a lot of young, children out there that really need to hear this message as well. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and early on in their life that, this is okay. This is a strength. Embrace it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not feel like, okay, why am I this way? And
Yeah, exactly.
and for that reason, I love that, you are spreading this message, and it's just an amazing thing.
Empaths unite. Hashtag. Right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Leyla. Let us know where we can find you. I know you're on Instagram. Let the audience know where else they can find you or how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so Instagram is where I'm the most active right now, but in the coming months, I will be launching my website, which is beingluca.co.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, if you want to stay in touch, that's probably the best way. You can just kind of insert your email and sign up for the newsletter. And whenever the podcast is ready to be launched or the website, you will get a notification. And of course, my channel is still on YouTube, which once the podcast is live, it will live there as well. So yeah, Real Leyla on Instagram, Real Leyla on YouTube, and beingluca.co.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leyla. It's been a pleasure having you on the
Thank you so
podcast.
much, sweetie. I
All
appreciate
right.
your time.
Okay. Thank you so much.